Welcome back to Imagine If. I'm your host as always, the Butler. Tonight, you're in for a treat. In today's show, we will be telling some of the most scariest nightmares from all over the globe. Before we start today's show, I would like to thank everyone who supports this channel. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Story 1. I felt so free and refreshed. We were in a tropical forest, surrounded by nothing but nature and its beauty. Me and my best friend Crystal, we laughed and we giggled in excitement as we stood at the edge of a cliff. At the bottom was a deep, light blue body of water. We held hands and we jumped off the cliff together. We both came back up, no problem, and we began to swim and just relax. I dipped my head back underneath the water, casually, and then I come back up, and the tone changed completely. The sky was now gloomy. Any life that was once there was gone. The water did not have its glow at all anymore. I turned my head and I looked for Crystal, waiting for her head to bop back up, waiting for any sign that she's still around. I call her name. Crystal. Crystal. Nothing. I start to panic and swim around and try to feel around to see if I feel or see her. All of a sudden, I'm watching myself. I see a huge black shadow mass that seems to have some type of tentacles. It reaches for me and wraps itself around my legs and starts to pull me down. I claw helplessly into the water, watching the surface become more and more distant. The panic sets in. My heart, it's beating out of my chest. My ears were ringing. I looked down, and the demon wraps its tentacles around my body, sliding up around my neck. I feel the burning in my head. I feel the burning in my chest, and my body starts to convulse. I'm going to die. My body feels like it's on fire. My body goes to convulse again. And then I wake up at 3 a.m. I've had this dream multiple times. Story number 2. I had at least 2 in the same house. My first one was when my dad was gone overnight on a trip for church. My mom slept in the living room downstairs. She asked me to stay in her room because she was scared to sleep alone. She slept in the living room. My dad's room was right beside the living room and the front door. My brother would work late and come in around 2 a.m. Well, I dreamed that I was not really sleeping, and I had just my eyes closed, fading into a sleep. I was hearing the TV that my mom was watching. It was about a bus of kids going through a fog. And something happened. Then I hear the front door open, and I hear my brother ask my mom, "Where's Melissa?" And she told him that I was in Daddy's room. I heard my brother tell my mom he was going to scare me. So then I heard the door open in my dad's room. Then I stood up and thought was my brother wrapping his arms around me pretty tight, to the point where I couldn't move. And then I laughed. I told him, "I know it's you, Michael." Then I heard the scariest laugh I've ever heard in my life. and it said, "That's what you think. That's what you think." Then it started pulling me up to the ceiling, and I thought I was going to get hurt or go through the ceiling. I glanced down on the bed, and that's when I see my body still there. And I closed my eyes because I thought that I was dead, and at the same time that I was going to be hurt or I was going to go through the ceiling. But right after I closed my eyes, I woke up in my bed. I was soaked in sweat. Then I went into the living room. My mom was still awake. There were 2 long couches in the living room. My mom was laying on one. I went and sat on the other. She looked at me and she told me that I looked very pale, as if I seen a ghost. I was pretty shaken up. I told her about my dream and then asked her about the movie she was watching. Come to find out, it was nothing about a bus of kids at all going into a fog. Even more chilling than that, I found out that my brother never came home from work. Needless to say, I never went back into my dad's room. I slept on the couch. Nightmare number 2. The Witch in the Woods. When I was about 10-ish, I lived in a very small town. My friends and I would often play on the trails near the forest after school or on the weekends. Playing around, playing soccer, tag, building forts, fishing, things like that. One day we were walking on a trail and a lady in her mid-50s or 60s came out of the woods. She had dirt all over her hands and pants. She told us that her car had broken down and she needed some help. We told her that we would go tell our parents and they would come help her out, but she insisted we come into the woods. We said no, over and over, as we continued to walk away from her. And she just stared at us. At some point, she seemed to be frozen and just stared at us with a sinister stare. It was like she was some type of robot or something. When we mentioned our parents, the smile went away completely and the face went blank. Even when we were a couple kilometers down the road, we could still see her, staring very sinister-like with a stiff body. Anyways, we get back to my friends and we're playing tag or doing something in the backyard. And one of us starts to make fun of the lady we saw earlier. And out of nowhere, he's launched into his parents' shed, breaks the window and the door to the shed, along with his arm and right leg. We all stand there in complete shock. His parents come out and they start yelling at us, blaming us and saying that we threw him. All of us ended up being grounded. To this day, we all seem to have the same recurring dream or seeing the woman in the woods, except every time I dream it, she's closer and closer to us. Nightmare 3. I had the strangest dream. I was jumping through different realities and alternative universes. The air would bobble when I jumped, and at the same time, people around me were doing the same thing. But completely opposite in this reality. My mom has passed, but in this dream, she was alive and looked totally different. I told her I was jumping through time and that she had died. And then I kept jumping until I was looking at my partner, who was completely old, but was still the same. I've had this dream multiple times, and every time I have this dream, I feel more and more in control. Thank you so much for watching today's show. If you get any enjoyment out of today's show, please subscribe, like, and share the video. Bye-bye for now, and sleep tight.